In today's episode, we're going to be talking about over and unders pertaining to the Detroit Pistons and obviously specific players on the team. Which are you going to be taking, over or under, on today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast?
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or even listen to this on one of the podcast platforms. While I would appreciate you guys going to the YouTube channel still, and that subscribe button. You can also go to whatever podcast platform you listen to this on, leave us a 5-star review. That's another great way to support the podcast both ways. I would really appreciate it. So on today's episode, we're going to be just talking about over and unders. Obviously, the Pistons over and under win total came out a few weeks ago. I believe it was at 27.5. I forget which place it was, but it's at 27.5. We'll talk about that, but also we'll talk about some specific players over and unders. And specifically, this first segment, we're going to be talking about just Cade Cunningham, all of his over and unders. This idea was brought to me by a few podcasts ago. You guys remember when we had one of the fans on, Tyler, the first fan that came on. He sent me a bunch of over unders. I was like, you know what? That's actually a pretty good idea. Let's go ahead and talk about it on the podcast. I think it would be pretty fun. So that's who I'm going to give that credit to. I want to make sure I give credit to him for throwing that idea to me. But without further ado, and also, I almost forgot. If you guys want to be featured on the podcast, on the Fan Joins episode, again, you have to send me your best Piston fandom story. I'll pick the most interesting one every single week. We already have the fan picked out for tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. But for next week, I need some more fans. So I have over 100 people reaching out. Continue to send your Piston fandom stories. I'll continue to pick the most interesting one each week. But without all of that now, let's go ahead and start talking about some of these over and unders. All right, so Cade Cunningham. The one we're going to start off with is Cade Cunningham over under 20 points per game this season. And I'm going to go ahead and take the over. I tweeted this stat out earlier today, obviously over on Twitter. After the All-Star break, Cade Cunningham was averaging 21 points a game, 6.5 assists. He's shooting around 45% from the field. He had a true shooting percentage of around 53%. He was getting to the free throw line a little bit more. Still not as much as I think he should have deserved, but he was getting there about 3.9 times a game. So after the All-Star break, and he got himself a lob threat, and they were able to space the floor accordingly and have a roll threat and have someone that can put pressure on the rim. And obviously, Cade got better and became more comfortable as the season went on. After the All-Star break, he was averaging over 20 points a game, and I think that's what he'll do this season. If I had to take a guess at what I think he'll specifically average points per game wise, I'm going to go ahead and say I think he's somewhere between 21 and 23 points per game. I think he'll be a little bit more efficient. I think he'll get to the free throw line a little bit more. Hopefully the refs give him some respect, because last season he was literally getting zero respect. You guys remember we used to rant about that on the podcast nonstop. It was really bad this past season what they did with Cade Cunningham and the free throws. It was tough. He couldn't get a call for his life. So hopefully he gets more free throws. I think he'll shoot better from deep. I think he'll continue. Obviously, he got stronger, so I think he'll finish even better around the paint. So I think 21 to 23 points per game is probably what Cade will average this upcoming season. And that takes us on to his next over-under that I was sent here. I think it was a pretty good idea. Was 1.5 games over-under 1.5 games of 40-plus points this season for Cade Cunningham. I'm going to go ahead and take the under on this one. I think having multiple 40-point games is kind of asking a lot. And the thing is, I think I could see him possibly getting one. But the thing with Cade is I don't think he's going to take enough shots to get multiple 40-point games. If it happens, I won't be incredibly shocked. But am I expecting it? No. Because again, like I said, he's a really damn good scorer. He's going to be a 3-level scorer in the NBA. We've already talked about how much we love Cade Cunningham, man. He's going to be a future MVP, all that kind of stuff. But what makes him great is that he is a playmaker too. He looks to make his team better. He looks to make his teammates better. He tries to create some for his teammates, get them easy shots. So I just don't think Cade's ever going to take that many shots, or not ever, but he's not going to consistently take that many shots. At least I don't think, for him to have multiple 40-point games. I could see him maybe getting one if he explodes. Last season, he had 2 total games with 30-plus points. I definitely see him getting a lot more 30-plus point per games, or point games. But 40-plus point games, I think he can maybe get one, but over 1.5, I'm going to have to take the under on that. I'm going to have to take the under on that one. All right, let's go ahead and go with his assists. Do I think he will go over under 7 assists per game? I'm going to take the under on that one. 7 assists is a lot a game. Like he'd be in some rare company if he pulled that off. I think he'll probably be hovering right around 7 assists. That's what my I didn't want to spoil at the beginning of the podcast what my prediction for his stat line is for the next year, but I'm predicting somewhere around like 21, 22 points per game, 6.5 assists a game, 5.5 rebounds, something like that. So I don't think he'll go over 7. I think he'll be hovering right around 7, maybe like 6.5 at the most. I think 7. If he goes over 7 assists a game and he's also averaging 23 points per game, I think it would be pretty tough, even with the Pistons being trash. If they're not very good, it'd be tough to keep him out the All-Star game. So if he is able to pull that off, great. But I think Cade's going to consistently finish around 6.5 assists every single year. I don't think he's going to ever average like 10 plus assists or 8 plus assists or anything like that. I think he'll get to 7 one day or one season, but I think that's just where he's going to hover around at, like 6.5 to 7.5 assists every year, and that's pretty damn good too. That's not bad either. That's really damn good. So that's my over under with the assist point per game, and then this one right here. I think this one's really going to be important for Cade this season, and something that you're really going to want to watch. And you know that he's working really hard on this offseason. I think he's even talked about it too when he's been interviewed. I know Ashton has kind of talked about it a little bit on Twitter. His trainer, that his cousin, that's also his trainer. I'm be shocked if a lot of you guys don't already know who Ashton is. He's made himself pretty friendly with the Pistons community. But anyways, they've talked about how he's trying to improve his outside shot and make it more consistent. So over under 32% from beyond the arc, I'm going to take the over on that. I think Cade's going to shoot around 35% this season from beyond the arc. I don't know what the volume will be on that, because I think as the season went on, he started taking less threes and started using his size more to get into the paint, take pull-up twos, and get all the way to the rim. Hopefully he gets more foul calls. That will result in a lot more free throws, easy points that way, and also getting all the way to the rim and laying the ball up. So I don't know how much the volume is going to be, but my guess is going to be probably around 35% from the field, or 35% from beyond the arc, that is, on, I'd say like 4.5 to 5.5 attempts a game, somewhere around there. I don't think he'll get a ton of threes up. I don't think he's going to do that. I think you kind of saw the kind of player that he wants to be as the season went on this past season. Again, he started going to the rim more. He started using his size a little bit more instead of relying so much on his outside shot. I think that's probably who Cade Cunningham is as an NBA player, with a 3 ball. So I think 4.5 to 5.5 attempts a game, 35% should be his goal. I'm definitely going to take the over on 32% from beyond the arc. If he's under 32%, I think that's probably a little bit concerning. That would be concerning. I'm not going to lie. He needs to shoot a little bit better from beyond the arc. I think he will. He was just a little inconsistent. He dealt with injuries this past season. I think that hurt a lot. Again, I think this upcoming season, I think he'll be a much better 3-point shooter, and he'll be a legit 3-level scorer for the Pistons this upcoming season. But anyways, that's all I've got with the Cade Cunningham over-unders. Let me know what your guys' answers to all of those would be in the comment section down below. If you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening on one of the podcast platforms, reach out to me over at Kooky Hill. Let me know what your guys' takes are on the over and under for Cade Cunningham. When we come back, we'll talk about some other players, Saddiq Bey, some of his over-unders, Marvin Bagley, Killian Hayes, Isaiah Stewart. And we'll also talk about the Pistons as a team, some of their over-unders. We'll talk about that when we come back. But first, I have to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in all your sports betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games this season. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for our sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they have you absolutely covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about their trends and action today. And if you head over to betonline.net right now and you go to the basketball section, you'll see that they have the betting favorites for the NBA championship next year to be the Boston Celtics. I don't agree with that. I think the Milwaukee Bucks should be the favorites. That's who I'm putting my money on. But that's the kind of thing you can already get a head start at over at betonline.net. So again, make sure you use your mobile device to learn more about their trends and action happening today. That's BetOnline, where the game starts. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We're on our way to 5,000 subscribers. Or if you listen to this on the podcast platforms, go down below, leave us a 5-star review. That's another great way to support the podcast. Also, if you go and leave a 5-star review and you put a question down there, I'll go through and I'll answer the questions on the podcast in a future episode. We did that a little bit last year. Actually, my first year with the coming on the Locked On Pistons podcast. We did that a little bit. We haven't done it in a long time. So if you guys want to do that, you guys can definitely go do that on any of the podcast platforms. Leave a question with your review, and I'll try to answer those if we get enough. But anyways, let's get back to some of the over and unders. Actually, there is one more thing I have to tell you guys. I keep forgetting some of these updates I have to give you. Every Wednesday, me and Bryce Simon host the Pistons Pulse podcast. He comes on the podcast all the time. I'm sure every single one of you who listen to the podcast know who he is because he does come on pretty regularly. We are hosting a Twitter Spaces on Twitter, obviously, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. If you have Twitter, come join us. You can come listen to us talk about the Pistons, ask us questions, come on, talk with us. If you don't have Twitter already, you want to install it just for that, it'd be a good idea. I'm recording this podcast actually right after we just got done with one. It was a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun. We talk with all the fans. We discuss some topics, have some fans come up, ask us questions. We answer them, all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun. So if you're on Twitter, come tune in next week on Wednesday at 8 p.m. And if you don't have Twitter, go ahead and install it just for that. You don't have to use it. I wouldn't recommend using it all the time, but just simply you want to join us every Wednesday, get some more Piston content, some more Pistons fun talk, just go ahead and do that. I'd really appreciate that as well. All right. So anyways, let's go ahead and get to some more of these over-unders. My goodness. Let's do Killian Hayes's. Killian Hayes over-under 30% from deep. I'm going to say over. If he's under that, it's not looking good for Killian. It would not be looking good for my mans at all if he's under that. I do think he's going to be over that. I think he's going to be hovering around 33 to 34% from beyond the arc. I think he's obviously went through last season with reworking his jump shot with John Beilein. When you rework a jump shot, it's not going to have instant success, instant results. It usually takes a little bit. He has a year removed now. We got some training footage of him getting some shots up. Obviously, I think he took 2 threes in the one summer league game that he did play. And I thought the footwork and his lower base looked better. So we'll see what it looks like. I think he's going to go over 30% from deep. That's just me. Let me know what you guys think. But definitely, if he's not over 30% from deep, it's not looking good for him. It would be really concerning. And I think it would be pretty much the end if he can't get to 30% at least. And you definitely probably would want him to get to like 33% at the very least, and be even higher on just catch and shoot threes. Anyways, moving on. Saddiq Bey, over under 18 points per game. He averaged 16.1 points per game this past season. After the first 26 games, though, he was averaging over 18 points per game. The thing is with Saddiq, this is the only thing holding me back from actually. I'm still going to take the under, and the only reason why I'm going to take the under is because with introducing Jaden Ivey, I think he's going to take some of the touches away. Cade obviously is going to take some of the touches away. I don't think Saddiq will be tasked with having to do as much offensively and creating his own shot as he did last year. I think he'll be still asked to do it every now and then and do it some per game, but I don't think he'll do it as much as he was last year when it was basically just him and Cade, and for a lot of games it was just him out there. So I don't think he's going to get the opportunities to get over 18 points per game. I could see him getting to 18, but I mean, he could go over 18. I'm not trying to make it sound like he can't do it, but I just don't. If I'm putting my money on it, I just don't think the opportunity is going to be there as much last season after those first 20, 26 games. that he had last year. I don't think that's going to be here this year because of the arrival of Jaden Ivey with Cade Cunningham coming back another year. Bringing back even Marvin Bagley, who seems to be a bigger part of the offense, coming back this year after an offseason of getting even better and integrating himself with the offense more in the team. I don't know. I think Sadiq probably finishes around like 17 points per game. I think that's my guess. 17 to 18. I don't know if he'll get over 18. If he does get over 18, great for him. But I don't know. If I had to put my money on it, I'm going to say under. This is another Sadiq Bey one. Over under 4 free throw attempts per game. So you guys remember that I gave Sadiq a ton of credit for this after the first 20 or so games from the season. He started getting to the rim a lot more. He was averaging over 4 free throws a game. And all of it had to do with him just completely changing his mindset of how he wanted to play on offense after those first 26 games that he just completely struggled in. And that's a big key to his game. So I think he actually will average more than 4 free throws a game. And to be honest, I think him averaging more than 4 free throws, maybe even more than 5, getting close to 6, I think that will be what helps him get closer to 20 points per game. Not him just simply taking more shots. Obviously, him hitting more outside shots at a better clip, that will help too. But I think his best pathway to getting to 20 points per game is the free throw attempts. I think he needs to continue to buy in and realize that he needs to use his body like he did the last 56 games of last season. Continue to get to the rim, continue to play strong, draw free throws, hit your free throws. I think that's his best pathway to doing it. I do think he'll hit or get to the free throw line more than 4 times a game. If he was able to do it more than 5 times a game, then I'll change my answer by him being under 18 points per game. But more than 5 free throws a game, that's a lot. Like I know people, especially for a non-primary ball handler, that's a lot of free throws a game to go over 5. So if he is able to do that, I think he'll go over 8. If he stays under 5, I don't think he'll get to 18. But with the original question, yes, I do think he'll go over 4 free throw attempts a game. I think that's a key part of his game. I think he realized that this past season. All right, so let's go ahead and go with Isaiah Stewart. Let's do over under with him. Over under 30% from beyond the arc. Now, even me, who is not the biggest believer in Isaiah Stewart becoming this stretch big, I do think he goes over that. I don't think Isaiah Stewart is going to be under 30% from deep. If he is, that's an incredible problem, and the Pistons spacing will be utter garbage if he's under 30%. The only way I can see him going under 30% if he's taking a lot of threes, like if he's taking 3 to 4 threes a game, and he's just not good at them. Like I think at the very least he's going to shoot 32%, 31%, heck, at least 30% from beyond the arc. The volume will depend and kind of say whether how big of an improvement it was for him this season. I definitely think the volume will probably be closer to around 2 to 4 attempts a game, somewhere around there. But yeah, I don't think he'll be under 30% from beyond the arc. If he is, again, something went terribly wrong. The Pistons are screwed with spacing, and Isaiah Stewart at the 4 is completely dead if he's under 30%. That's a complete blunder right there if he's under 30%. But even someone who's not the biggest believer in him being a great 3-point shooter in the future, I don't see him shooting under 30%. I think he'll probably hit around 31, 32% this upcoming season. That's my prediction. So yeah, I'm going to take the over on that one. Let's go ahead and do one more here with a specific player, and then I want to move on to some of the team over-unders. All right, so Jaden Ivey, over-under 14 points per game. So this one's tough for me because I have Jaden Ivey as my prediction hovering right around 14. Like I think that's what he'll be this upcoming season. I don't think he's going to be out here averaging 20 points a game. If he does, great. I mean, we all want him to do the best possible. It's not like I'm rooting for him to get 14. But if I'm putting money on it, I was guessing around 14 points per game. So do I think he'll get over 14 points per game this season? I'm going to go with, I guess I'm going to go over. I think he'll get enough volume to where he may even I think he probably get over 14 on not great efficiency. If he does it with good efficiency, like I said, great. But I think at the very least, he's going to get the volume to get the points per game totals, whether it's on good efficiency or not. I think he's going to get a lot of opportunities in transition. I think he's going to get the ball a lot in fast break. I think he's going to get a lot of chance in the half court when he's not playing with Cade. I definitely think Cade and Killian will create open looks for him as well. So, again, I think he's going to get the volume to get there. I think one thing, too, we just talked about this with Sadiq. I think the fact that he's going to be so great, and we've talked about this on the podcast a lot. I think he's going to be great out the gate at drawing free throws. Again, I think that's going to be a key piece in him getting to 15 points per game. So if he's drawing a lot of free throws like I think he can, I do think he'll probably get more than 14 points per game. I think he'll hover around 15, 14, around there. But if I had to put my money on it and it's at 14, I'll take the over and say he gets more than 14 points per game. Let me know what you guys think about that, though. I know some of you guys are really high on what you guys think Ivey will do this season. I think Ivey's going to be a really good player for the Pistons moving forward. I just don't know if that's going to happen initially. I think that's fine, and we've talked about that in the podcast plenty of times. I don't think he has to be great initially. I'm not even thinking he's going to be. I think he's going to have some struggles initially and a lot of things he has to work out. I think he'll be great long-term, though. But I know a lot of you guys do think that he'll be great initially. So let me know. Do you guys think he'll be over 14 points per game this upcoming season? Do you guys think it will come on decent efficiency? Or do you think he's just going to get a lot of shots up this season and have a lot of room to, a long leash to make a lot of mistakes, take some ill-advised shots and not get yanked out of the game? That'll be interesting to watch too, actually. That's another storyline that we could be watching. How is Dwayne Casey going to handle Jaden Ivey? Is he going to give him the freedom to kind of do the, I don't want to say reckless, but kind of play free-flowing like Jaden Ivey kind of showed us in the summer league once he started getting going in the second half of his first game. But let me know what you guys think about some of these over-unders that we just talked about. But when we come back, we'll be talking about some team-specific over-unders. These ones are going to be interesting. I want to know what your guys' answers to these are. But first, you guys have to hear from some of our sponsors. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. Best way to support the podcast, on our way to 5,000 subscribers. Or if you're listening to one of the podcast platforms, leave us a 5-star review on whatever platform you listen to this on. That's a great way to support the podcast. All right, let's go ahead and do some over-unders about the Pistons as a team. This is one that I thought, well, actually, you know what? Let's start with the win total. Let's go ahead and get that out the way. 27.5 wins. This is my problem with this one. Because if you're just looking at it and you see 27 wins, I think all of our initial reactions like, 27 wins, that's nothing. They can get 28 wins. That's not even a lot. 28 wins is easy. But that was my thought process last year. I thought they would get over their projected win total, and they didn't. I thought the same thing the year prior. And they didn't. So I've been burnt 2 years in a row now. And I know that tanking at the end of the season, it happens. A team that's not very good or talented, if injuries happen, that will make it even worse than it already is. So considering all those things and the fact that I've been burnt the last 2 years, and with the team being even more younger this year, I'm going to go ahead and go the under. I think they go under 27.5. I know a lot of you guys, there's going to be a lot of you guys that are mad about the answer. A lot of you guys think this team will be pushing for a play-in. If they do, great. I don't think so. I think they're going to be a really young team, obviously. I think they have a lot of things they have to improve on still. A lot of these guys are still under the age of 22 years old, going into their second, third year. A lot of key pieces being rookies, Jalen Duren and Jaden Ivey. I think they're going to have a long learning curve. And again, like I said, at the end of the year, I think they'll end up tanking because I don't think they'll be pushing for a playoff spot at the end of the year. I think at the end of the year, they'll do what they did the last 2 years and just basically pack it up and try and improve their lottery odds. And I think that will hurt their overall being able to hit the over on their win projection. So I'm not going to lie. A lot of it has to do with the fact that they burnt me the last 2 years with this, and I'm kind of scared to go over now again. So I'm going to go the under here. I won't be shocked to get to 28 games, though. I'm going to take the under 27.5 either way, though. All right. Here's another one that I'm actually really interested. This one right here actually is going to tell how good the Pistons are this year. This one is going to be, I think, the key stat on whether they're able to hit their over on 27.5 wins. And that's their team 3-point percentage. This past season, they shot 32.6% as a team. That was just, that's horrific, man. We've talked about the shooting numbers, not just from 3-point shooting, but catch and shoots, off the dribble, pull up middies, mid-range jumpers, pick and pops, all in every shooting category. The Pistons were just historically awful this past season. And they're at 32.6% this past season. Will they go over 35% as a team next year? So now, for some context, only 10 teams in the NBA shot below 35% this past season. So only 10 teams did that. So you had to be one of the top 22 teams, or not 22. I'm thinking NFL top 20 teams in the NBA. I don't know, man. I think I'm gonna go the under. I don't think they're gonna be that good at. I think they're still gonna struggle from deep, man. If they're going to do the front court pairing of Isaiah Stewart with whatever other big, I don't think Isaiah Stewart gets to 35%. I think he gets around 31, 32. That's my prediction there. God, I don't know, man. I don't think they address the shooting issues really. I think they're banking a lot of it on internal development, which is fine, which I agree with that. Go ahead and bank on that. But if I'm putting my money on over under 35%, a lot of it, again, I'm going to have to hope that Isaiah Stewart becomes a better three-point shooter. I'm going to have to hope that Killian Hayes becomes a better three-point shooter. I'm going to have to hope that Sadiq Bey becomes a more consistent three-point shooter. Heck, I might even have to hope that Marvin Bagley is a decent three-point shooter. And that's also assuming that Cade Cunningham gets to close to 34, 35%. Like, who's going to be their best three-point shooter? Is it Alec Burks this season? Isaiah Livers? Isaiah Livers probably, actually. That's probably the answer right there. Isaiah Livers will probably hover around 40%. But is he going to be the only guy that gets close to 40%? Alec Burks, maybe? Outside of that, who else is going to get close to 40% for this team? So I don't know. I think they're going to go under 35% from deep. I think that's what's going to stop them from able to win as many games because they didn't address the spacing really, and they're banking a lot of it on internal development. Again, if these guys do get better, then great for it. But basing it off last season, I don't know, man. Over 35% looks hopeful right now. That right there is going to determine if they hit over on their 27.5 wins, though. They're going to have to shoot close. They're going to either have to shoot 35% or over that if they want to do that. They're going to have to. There's no way they can be one of the 10 teams again that shoot under 35%, ranked damn near last in the league in three-point shooting percentage, and think they're going to win over 27.5 games. It's not going to happen. So let's do one more with the Pistons as a team. And this one actually isn't going to be an over-under. This is going to be yes or no. Do I think the Pistons will be a bottom 5 team in the NBA this season? Yes. I do. I think they're going to be a bottom 5 team. I don't think they'll be the worst team in the league. I don't think they'll probably be the second worst team, but I think they'll be somewhere again in the 3 to 5 range. Again, I think that at the end of the season they're going to tank again. That's going to play a big part of it at the end of the season if they're able to out-lose other teams, but I think they're going to be in that position again. But like we just got done talking about, I don't think they address the outside shooting that much, and they're an extremely young team. Troy Weaver decided to go the young route and decided to go another year rebuilding, another year development instead of taking big swings in free agency and deciding to let go on some young guys already. He decided to let another year of development happen, let these guys grow together. And when that happens for a team of guys that are under 21 years old, 22 years old, they usually don't win. Like, that's just how it goes. So I think they'll be a bottom 5 team. I don't think they'll be the worst team in the league. I think they'll be hopefully they'll be competent. I hope they're at least competitive. I think they will be competitive. But I think they're going to end up being like a 3 to 5 team. I could see them really having like the 5th worst record in the NBA. I could see them at that spot right there. That's probably where. Actually, I'm gonna predict them to be the 4th or 5th worst team in the league. I think that's what they'll get their lottery odds at, unless they just out-lose other teams at the end of the season. But that's where I'm looking at the team right now. Obviously, how the season starts, what we see in preseason, if these guys actually improved as shooters from beyond the arc, I think that's going to change a lot, obviously. But we have to see that. As of now, I don't see that many shooting improvements. And they're banking a lot on internal development. So we're going to have to see if that happens or not. As of now, I'm going to go ahead and say yes, they're going to be a bottom 5 team in the NBA this upcoming season. Let me know what you guys think about these over and unders, what you guys' answers would be in the comment section down below on YouTube or over on Twitter at Kooky Hill if you listen to some of the podcast platforms. I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button at the Locked On Pistons YouTube channel. I'd really appreciate it. Tomorrow's episode, we are going to have a fan joins episode. It's going to be a really good one. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. Again, if you guys want to find your way to get on that episode, you guys have to send me your best Piston fandom story. I'll pick the most interesting one each week, invite you on. You have to have, again, a great Piston fandom story, a mic, and a webcam or camera, something that you can use for a visual. If you have those three things, you're a contestant to come on the podcast on one of these fan joining episodes. Again, reminding you guys, we are down to 3 episodes a week for the next month or so in the off season. I need a little bit of break. Heck, we all need a little bit of a break. So you guys will be seeing me a little bit less. But like I said, if you guys want some more content, I'm hosting a Twitter Spaces every Wednesday with Bryce Simon at 8 p.m. You guys can check me out over there as well if you guys want some more content. But until the next episode, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe, everybody. Peace out and go Pistons.